Hello, everybody. Today is the last day of Marine Comms Week. My name is Yandes Al Mohammed, also known as YSM. And today I'm very excited to bring our last speaker and workshop host, Mark Haver, to the front and center. Mark Haver is a leader in the forefront of the movements for ocean climate and sustainable fashion. His consulting firm, BlueGreen Generation, which is also a partner of Marine Comms Week this year, was founded in 2022, and he has since worked on strategy, events, partnerships, advocacy, and impact campaigning with clients including Sustainable Ocean Alliance, Deep Rising, Global Fashion Exchange, and ESP Advisors. His experience with major projects such as the launch of the award-winning film Deep Rising or Sustainable Fashion Festival for World Pride in Washington, D.C., has solidified his belief in thinking outside of the box and mobilizing creative partners. Having collaborated with Jane Fonda, Jason Momoa, Jane Goodall, and Sylvia Earle, Mark understands the value of leveraging large platforms and their audiences for targeted awareness campaigning. Since COP26, and now we're at COP30, Mark has consistently represented the youth perspective at the highest levels of ocean climate decision-making. Aligned with his policy background, Mark believes that securing impactful outcomes is only possible with a swell of grassroots voices armed with strategic calls to action. To this end, as the founder of the hashtag Commit to Ocean campaign, Mark is excited to bring the call for ocean climate ambition to the crescendo at COP30. So we're very excited to learn more about this hashtag Commit to Ocean, which is going to be talking about the nexus between ocean, climate, advocacy, policy. I'm so excited, Mark. Thank you so much, and I will leave it to you.
Thank you so much, YSM. Hello, everyone in the recording. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm so happy to be here. It is Friday, November. What is it? Is it the 7th? Is it the 6th? I'm not sure. It's the 7th. And we are 3 days away from COP30. Now, I know you guys are following marine conservation and climate change topics, so you know how important this occasion is for climate action and for ocean action. Now, I'm very excited to be able to share more with you all about ocean climate campaigning and to be a bridge between the high-level major ocean climate initiatives that are happening at UN Climate Change and grassroots advocacy for ocean climate action. So, without further ado, I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into how I've been fitting into the ocean climate space. When I was the chair of the Youth Policy Advisory Council with Sustainable Ocean Alliance 4 years ago, we had two policy campaigns. One of them was the campaign against deep sea mining, and another one was the campaign for the Global Blue New Deal. And the Global Blue New Deal was one of the first attempts at basically collating and uniting the youth voice around a framework of ocean policy demands. We had four pillars for the Global Blue New Deal, and one of them was centered on climate. The Global Blue New Deal was a great campaign and ended up being featured by the UN High-Level Climate Champions, which ultimately led to an invitation to speak at COP26. I was always very interested in climate. Many ocean people are, as we understand just how existential it is for our planet and for ocean health. And so when I had the opportunity to speak at COP26 about the Global Blue New Deal campaign, I was like, oh my goodness gracious, there is so much opportunity for us to ensure that the ocean is better integrated into how we approach climate action. So from there, I basically have been working on trying to educate people on the ocean climate nexus and mobilize them while also working at the high level policy level. Now, listen, again, I know you guys are following marine conservation and climate change, so I would expect that you guys have a good idea as to why the ocean is important for climate action, but it's always important to set the right groundwork. So, why should we care about the ocean? Because the ocean is a climate superhero. Did you know that 50% of the oxygen we breathe is generated by the ocean? Not only does it literally help give us life on Earth, but it has been the barrier to preventing runaway climate change. Without the ocean, the Earth's temperature would have already risen beyond 2.53 degrees Celsius. The ocean has been our lifeline in absorbing excess heat and 25% of annual carbon emissions. Not only is it this buffer for resilience, but it is also an incredible carbon sink. The ocean is our planet's largest carbon sink. And did you know that ocean and coastal ecosystems actually sequester 4 times more carbon than rainforests? Even though the ocean for some might be out of sight, out of mind, its power when it comes to climate adaptation, climate mitigation cannot be ignored. So I want you all to say it with me now. The ocean is our climate, and the climate is our ocean. Ocean action is climate action, and climate action is ocean action. But, you know, just, just last month, I think it's just loading. Okay, we're good. As I'm sure you guys might have seen last month, there were some pretty scary headlines. We have reached one of Earth's first tipping points. The temperature has already risen, and the trajectory of global temperature rise probably means that 95% to 99% of coral reefs are going to die in an irreversible tipping point. More than 3 billion people rely on the ocean for food and livelihoods. Coral reefs sustain 25% of ocean biodiversity and maintain the integrity of our ocean ecosystems. The ocean has never been more at risk, and this just highlights the urgency behind why we need to make sure that the ocean is included in the climate agenda. So speaking of the ocean and the climate agenda, it's important to understand how does the ocean, beyond these facts, beyond the urgency, we have to understand the history of how it's actually been integrated into UN climate change. So, an abridged history. Let's go. 2015. Bam! Paris Agreement. Yay! Luckily, the Paris Agreement acknowledges the integrity of all ecosystems, including and explicitly the ocean. Unfortunately, the ocean was not necessarily on the priority list until COP25 in 2019. Parties recognized that the ocean was being excluded from the agenda, and thanks to Chile's leadership, they requested an ocean and climate change dialogue. This dialogue was basically an effort for parties to come together and say, oh, we think that ocean-based climate solutions are important. How do we address ocean inclusion across different negotiation topics like climate finance, carbon markets, adaptation indicators, NDCs, as well as national policy? So these ocean and climate dialogues are fora for parties to share about how they're implementing ocean climate action on a national level and like specifically what are they doing? So what is Australia doing to incentivize decarbonizing the shipping fleet or their fishing fleet? How did they do it? How is Colombia scaling offshore wind? So that's what the Ocean Climate Dialogue is about. And ever since COP27, the Ocean and Climate Dialogue has been mandated on an annual basis. And for those that know about COP every year in November, did you also know that there is a mid-year climate conference where they're negotiating some of these different topics and outcomes? Those are called the SB sessions, and they're held at the UN Climate Change Headquarters in Bonn, Germany. So that's where the Ocean and Climate Dialogue is held on an annual basis now for the past 3 years. There has been some more progress as well in different negotiation topics, such as the global stock take. We're now looking into adaptation for this year. The nationally determined contributions are incredibly important this year, but you'll also find some different ocean initiatives outside of the negotiations themselves. There will be initiatives led by champions, specifically like the high level climate champions, who have been really championing the ocean breakthrough. And I'll be sharing more about the ocean breakthrough later. But there are really all these different ways, especially in the last 5 years, that the ocean has been finding incremental progress in its integration and inclusion. And throughout those 5 years, I've been present for a lot of it. Just at COP27 in Egypt was the first time that there was an ocean pavilion in the Blue Zone. As you'll see on the left, this was an incredible event about deep sea mining. Defend the team. You'll see in the photo in the middle here, I was a moderator for the first mandated annual Ocean and Climate Dialogue with the ocean lead for the UNFCCC Secretariat and Whitney from the Ocean Conservancy. We were basically reporting out on all the things that happened during the dialogue. And I've even been frequently and unfortunately the only youth representative informing high-level ocean policy initiatives by going to and inviting myself into the rooms of places like New York Climate Week, different roundtables. I've been able to ensure that the youth voice and perspective is integrated into the development of major ocean climate initiatives, such as the Ocean Breakthrough, the Coastal Tourism Breakthrough, and the Blue Finance Window. Even though there's been some progress, unfortunately, less than 2% of global climate funding goes to the ocean. With the ocean covering 70% of our planet, with the ocean doing so much work to stop runaway climate change, to continue sequestering carbon and excess heat, its role is not getting nearly enough respect and recognition as it should. When it comes down to including the ocean and climate adaptation, even countries that go to resources like the NDC partnership do not receive support for integrating ocean and coastal ecosystems and solutions into their national adaptation plans. 80% of those requests for support go unresolved. Now, we all know how important climate action is generally, and how is that facilitated? Well, part of the way it's facilitated is through the nationally determined contributions. These every 5 years, countries basically have to update what their plan is to reduce their emissions. Those are your NDCs. That's why COP30 is so important this year. Countries are submitting those national climate action plans, those international commitments again. But less than 50% of countries referred to the ocean and its solutions, even though we know that more than 50% of countries have coastlines. So the fact of the matter is that the ocean is basically continuing to be excluded from the policies and commitments that are necessary to be able to drive finance and also show the world what climate action looks like. But I think one of the most disappointing parts of engaging at the ocean climate nexus is understanding how. For the past, 4 years, I've been trying to learn and engage as a representative of Sustainable Ocean Alliance. And it hasn't been easy. There's not a lot of information as to how you do this, how you do that, how is the ocean being negotiated. And unfortunately, even though the ocean and climate civil society groups are doing a wonderful job, and I'm not here to bash their work and all the incredible initiatives that they have led, as you've seen in the incredible progress that we've made since COP25. But there isn't really a concerted effort to connect any of the high-level major ocean policy work going on at UN climate change to enabling people like you and I to participate. They might be doing direct ocean diplomacy or working between large international environmental NGOs, but there really is a limited component calling for grassroots support for ocean climate advocacy. There hasn't been a pathway. Until now. Dun, 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 dun. That's right. With Commit to Ocean, I'm hoping to be that bridge. I'm hoping to be able to share my experience and working at that high level ocean climate policy nexus to inform how we all can come together to create ocean climate ambition. But why now? I mean, when I was tired of waiting and COP30 was so important, I was like, if NDCs are submitted every 5 years, we have to activate this year because we can't wait 5 years for the ocean to be included. Our ocean literally reached our first tipping point. So it better be now, not 5 years from now. There were also really, really good conditions this year. I mean, I hate to say it, but UAE, Egypt, Azerbaijan are not ocean champions. And this year, not only are we having COP30 hosted by the Brazilians, which have demonstrated incredible ocean leadership by creating Oceans 20 and a sub-initiative of G20, by campaigning for the election of a new Secretary General at the International Seabed Authority, but also there was the UN Ocean Conference this year, which is only every 3 years. And the whole point of that is also to kind of raise the political will, ambition, and priority attached to action for the ocean. And so, with the UN Ocean Conference in France and Lula and Macron working together to be able to take the outcomes of the UN Ocean Conference and bring them to Brazil, I was like, well, listen, we have a country who is ready and knows about the importance of ocean climate action. Let's leverage these enabling conditions for good. And fortunately, it's never been easier for us to work with the presidency to ensure that that goal is also integrated into how they're managing COP. For the first time ever, we have a COP special envoy for the ocean. And I'm so excited to share this news with you all from yesterday. Yesterday was the opening of the World Leaders Summit. And when they opened the ceremony, there was a cultural ceremony, and then they had a report on the state of climate science by someone from the World Meteorological Organization. But the very second speech at the World Leaders Summit was by Dr. Marinez Scherer, the special envoy for the ocean, who highlighted just how important the ocean is for our climate and why ocean climate action is so important. Her speech was immediately followed by President Lula. COP30 is already showing that the ocean is a priority outcome for this conference. This is so exciting. We are already seeing the momentum behind the call for ocean climate ambition. And the question is, how can we further support the COP30 action agenda for the ocean? So every COP presidency has their own objectives and agenda. This is the Brazilian action agenda. And you'll see that under the second pillar, one of their 30 objectives is to preserve and restore ocean and coastal ecosystems. And so we already see as well, not just through the special envoy for the ocean, but in the action agenda, that the ocean is well represented. So my thought is, okay, great. At least we have Brazilian support, but we need to go farther. We still need other countries to be understanding what Brazil or what France or what many other island and coastal nation allies, what they understand. We need to educate. Not only do we need to help people understand why the ocean is so important for the climate, but we need to have them become our champions. What can we do to break beyond the ocean community's bubble to ensure that the climate folks are also becoming champions for the ocean, are not forgetting the ocean, are working to include the ocean? And when we're creating new champions, how can we leverage their platforms and be strategic in how we apply our pressure to be able to make the ocean the main character? I'll talk more about that. But first, I want to do a little, let's wind back in time to COP28. COP28, there is this incredible organization called Time for Better. And Time for Better is basically like a consulting media and events agency. They were producing this incredible initiative called the Hope House, which is a really great event space at COP28, New York Climate Weeks in the past. And they decided to launch this campaign called Later is Too Late. And their idea was basically to do a drip campaign on Instagram and to have as many leaders as possible post the same assets at the same time. They were trying to basically influence the cover text for COP28, and they succeeded. Like, not only did their campaign have incredible reach, but it also was able to have language from their campaign become integrated into the COP28 cover text. So I said, they were able to control the narrative. What if we rinse and repeat this, but for the ocean? So, in designing my Commit to Ocean campaign, I thought, okay, we need to go beyond the ocean bubble. So, what can we do to educate climate groups on ocean climate action and the ocean climate nexus? And then, once we have them on board and posting some educational posts, they're already in partnership with us. So, they should be able to also help advance our call to action. So, through education, it's not just a means of education, it's also a means of recruitment, right? That way, you're building your army that's going to be calling for ocean climate action. The end goal is to like take over the feed. If you are thinking of Ocean Day at COP30 on November 17th, I don't want you to scroll through Instagram without seeing Commit to Ocean. I want everyone to know the ocean is showing up at COP and there is a wave of public support that is calling for it. But it's not just about like, oh my gosh, this campaign's everywhere on Instagram. Wonderful. But it's how we leverage the attention that we capture and think about who are our targets for this message and how do we make sure they receive the message. So what do you want to change? Who needs to hear it? For me, I was thinking, well, every country needs to hear this message. And we were able to use incredible tools like Chile, which I'll talk about a little bit later, to be able to be that facilitator for delivering our message to the people who need to hear it. So when I was thinking about my Commit to Ocean campaign, I knew that we needed to basically set the groundwork for COP30 ahead of COP30. And with the UN Ocean Conference this year as well, my thought was the UN Ocean Conference is about many different topics, right? I mean, the ocean is unfortunately facing its worst health ever in history because of what we're doing to it. We are overfishing. Climate change is a huge issue, causing ocean acidification, coral bleaching. Migratory species are in different places. There's the plastic problem. Like the whole list of issues affecting our ocean is absolutely crazy. Don't get me started on deep sea mining. But we needed to make sure that there was climate at the top of the agenda of UNOC, or at least as one of the key themes. And so I said, let's basically try and gather all of these ocean influencers together and have them say, this climate issue is really important. We need to be talking about this at UNOC and at COP30. So that way, as we come out of the UN Ocean Conference, we have the ocean community rallied behind the idea that ocean action is climate action, and we need to set the scene for ambitious ocean climate action at COP30 later this year. So I was able to leverage all different types of influencer platforms. The top four people you see here, they're all ocean influencers. And then the bottom three people here are more general public and different audiences that you wouldn't normally see as part of an ocean campaign. Kevin Patel is an incredible young climate activist. Paloma is an incredible Brazilian climate activist. And Roya Fox, she actually works at Ocean Conservancy, but she does all these different like language videos on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, especially between like English and French. So we were able to really bridge the ocean message across the climate audience and even into the general public. That was not just done through influencers, but also with organizations. So working with Sustainable Ocean Alliance, the Oxygen Project, Chile, Wild Earth Oceania was also establishing some of the legitimacy behind our campaign to ensure that it's not just looking like some random campaign. It has the authority of these organizations that are leading on campaign work, especially at a grassroots level. The UN Ocean Conference campaign was like a micro campaign, and we were again just trying to set the scene well for COP30. For COP30, the goal was basically three parts and how we designed the timeline of the campaign. The first was ocean climate education. We need to recruit large platforms, and I'm not talking about the usual suspects. If we are going to get the climate community to recognize that the ocean is important at COP30, is it going to help if the ocean community keeps posting about it? No, they're clearly not looking. We need to go to them, find their messengers, and have them adopt our messaging. The ocean makes it easy, right? The ocean does a lot of work by itself. It's just about being able to say, hey, can you help make sure other people understand this message? So that's an easy ask, especially if you're able to identify the right people who have the right relationships and can be your champion and forging those relationships with those different platforms. Not only is this a way for you to recruit these platforms, it also builds the case among the general public as to why the ocean should be a main character and primes them to understand that this campaign is a movement that's going to call for their attention later this month, later in a couple weeks. Again, it's just setting the scene. Not only was it important for us to demonstrate public awareness, but public support. And one of the best ways to demonstrate public support is a sign-on letter. Petition, 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 petition. I love them, but sign-on letters I think are great because it's not only a petition where you can have individual voices, but a sign-on letter, you also get organizational support. So that way you can say it's backed by this many different types of organizations around the world. And this is basically another way for us to galvanize influential voices to endorse the campaign. When it comes down to it, you can also try and think about in your campaigns how you can basically apply each of these ideas on a more local scale. For me, since this was a global campaign, I thought, okay, well, for the sign-on letter, let's try and get really large voices like celebrities and stuff like that. But you don't have to do that. You can always try and think about like who are local influencers, who are people that are thought leaders in your community at your national level. How do we get them to be part of this campaign? And then sending the letter to decision makers. I mean, it's not just like, okay, we have this letter and we have all these signatures. How do we get it in front of people? And so we were able to use Chili to create a one-click action link that was able to demonstrate stakeholder and constituent support to every country's Ministry of the Environment and the focal point for every UN climate change negotiating team. We can rinse and repeat this campaign, but at all different levels. And when it comes down to being that bridge from the high level ocean climate policy nexus, we have to pay attention to these major initiatives like the ocean breakthrough. I think one of the most important facts for us to keep repeating as a community is that ocean-based climate solutions can reduce the emissions gap, bring us closer to the emissions gap by 35%. We cannot get to 1.5 without the ocean. And the ocean will take us a third of the way there. That's a lot. And we're not deploying ocean climate solutions at scale. We're literally ignoring one of the biggest opportunities for us to mobilize climate action and emissions reductions. When it comes down to what an ocean climate solution is, you'll see the ocean breakthrough here is highlighting the 5 different sectors. Marine conservation, self-explanatory. Decarbonizing shipping. Aquatic food, decarbonizing aquatic food systems. Ocean renewable energy. Now, this is both phasing out offshore oil and gas and scaling up offshore renewable energy like offshore wind. And then decarbonizing coastal tourism is another sector for it. Ocean climate action. So if the ocean can contribute up to 35% of emissions reductions needed to make climate targets, it's important for us to understand as well where we need to direct our energy, right? Because if we all decided, amazing, let's all campaign around decarbonizing ocean-based tourism, that's not going to bring us that 35% because the mitigation potential of ocean-based tourism is nil. Like, point one. Not saying that it's not worth it. Of course, we need to decarbonize the coastal tourism industry, but if we're trying to understand like how do we get to that 35% number, how do we produce the greatest emissions reductions for ocean climate action, then we need to be talking mostly about phasing out offshore oil and gas, scaling up offshore wind, and decarbonizing shipping. So if we're thinking about climate action as a math equation, we need to recognize that those are the sectors of the ocean breakthrough where your concerted efforts on ocean climate campaigning are going to be the most necessary and produce the largest impact. Here, I have all different types of ideas that you can support in your ocean climate campaign. I hope that we can workshop these together and take a look at this. I'm now going to just advocate for you to also looking into Chili. Chili is a great way for you to create that one-click action link that you can give to your community that puts your message in front of decision makers. So check that out. And if you're interested in participating in the Commit to Ocean campaign for COP30, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. And are you excited? I know I'm excited. COP30 will be the year that we commit to ocean. Thank you. Oh, girl, you're on mute. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Mark, for this really fulfilling presentation and message. We are not walking, we are running towards committing to ocean and advocacy and action-based advocacy, most importantly in the ocean climate space. And yeah, thanks again so much for everybody who is tuning in. Please feel free to rewatch and share this video as much as possible to get this out to as many people outside. I think the key note that you shared in your presentation is outside of the ocean space. We are all speaking in our ivory
Break down the
tower.
silos.
We know
Yes.
what we have to do already. We are all already advocates to protect the ocean. Any networks that you have outside of the ocean space, please share this video. People maybe want to get involved in protecting the ocean, but don't necessarily know how. This is a great video to show that. So thank you so much again, Mark. And Mark is in Brazil already right now, getting to work, sharing Commit to Ocean. So much success in all the proceedings for COP. And thank you all. We will see you again for next year for Marine Comms Week. Don't forget to follow us on all of our handles, LinkedIn, Instagram, X. We're still on X. And make sure you utilize our YouTube channel to watch past sessions, past performances from 2023's Marine Comms Week. And we will see you next year. Stay in touch, everybody.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate YSM and the whole team that has made this possible.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. And ocean action is climate action. Woo!
Thank you so much, Mark. Have a great morning.